Good morning to everybody. Welcome to the Top Biller series. Today I'm joined by none other than James Smethurst, the driving force behind Velocity Talent. James, great to have you here for episode 4.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Good morning. We first teamed up in around 2012, working together and with your team over a sort of 4 to 5 year period. Back then, you were relatively new to the industry, but you certainly hit the ground running, if not sprinting, and made your mark from day one. Can you share your backstory with us, please?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So as you say, I got into recruitment in 2012. Since then, obviously, spent my time building recruitment businesses, property development companies, doing a bit of angel investment more recently. In recruitment, best year was just shy of £1 million, actually. It was £970,000 and something.
Oh, come on now.
I know. Bit of a rubbish year, really, but I was running a team and a shareholder of a wider business as well. So guess it wasn't my sole focus. Build relatively well. Built good performing teams at multiple businesses. Now doing it under Velocity Talent.
Mm-hmm.
Founded multiple businesses, mentored many high-performing top billers, developed proven BD systems, consistently generating live roles, opportunities, retained projects, and long-term relationships with clients as well. So, some that have worked with us for over 10 years now.
Okay, so you build over 1.3 million USD in your best year.
Yeah.
You've built and managed teams delivering over 2 million USD.
Yeah.
Shed some light as to how you've achieved this.
Well, I guess the first thing that I would say is it's really difficult to do those numbers without the right environment and without the right support around you. Whenever I've done well, it's because the environment and the support's been right. And then whenever I've kind of maybe things haven't been quite right, I've looked around and there's either something going on in the background in terms of environment or there's just not the right support there. So I think to thrive, you've got to have those things. In my best year, I was lucky enough to have someone supporting us who was phenomenal. Someone called Emma, who is a kind of a high-performing biller now in her own right. She was supporting us behind the scenes, and she was fantastic in the best year that I had. But obviously, I've always as running your own business or managing a team, I've always had a wider team as well, and I think that's really important to then be able to filter out opportunities. My approach has always been to focus on relationships rather than individual fees. So I tend to work quite a lot with the same businesses on a repeat basis. And I'll tend to manage the more complex or the more senior projects, and then I'll filter out some of the more junior ones to other members of the team. I think having the right clients and the right relationships is definitely key. There's only so much one person can do on their own, and I think you've got to have the right clients that are doing the right kind of things. So high growth businesses or businesses that are going through a lot of change with the right kind of scale as well is important. And I think the third thing is leveraging your success and relationships for referrals and recommendations. That's my main way of generating income these days is through word of mouth. Fourth is having a relentless attitude to activity and to productivity. And the final point is just process over luck. Make sure you're doing the right things, you're using structured systems and processes. Always trying to maximize your productivity and your efficiency, trying to get more out of your time. I think that inevitably does make you luckier. And I also believe in having a balance of retained and contingent projects as well, because I think having some contingent exclusive projects with some clients that are new, maybe they've not worked with you in the past, maybe you're just kind of developing a relationship. I think that allows you to be more expansive and really prove to people that you are who you say you are and that you can do the business.
Yeah, very true. What would you say was your light bulb moment when you realised you're actually good at this?
I think really when I started taking work away from like big exec search firms like Corn Ferry or Rogers or Spencer Stewart, I've taken quite a lot of work away from those companies in the last sort of particularly 5 years, but maybe more than that. I think it wasn't my biggest month, but when I did 118k pounds in a month, that was a point where I was like, I'd took a massive step up at that point,
Yeah.
and it was my biggest month at the time. And for me, then I was like, why can't I just do this every month?
Yeah. True.
Once you start hitting those kind of numbers, actually incrementally, if you get 20% better, you then do 20%. You're doing 20k more each month. If you get 50% better, you're getting 50k. The incremental like benefits of getting better are bigger once you're hitting bigger numbers. So you're then even more motivated, once you start hitting bigger numbers to do more and to achieve more. And the third one was obviously my best ever year, doing that 970 odd k pounds, 1.3 million USD year. That was pretty good too.
Yeah, very good. So would you say that it's all about the percentages, isn't it? A percent or two better every
Yeah.
time, and then it reflects in your billings, of course.
Yeah, you've got to run your own race. I don't think it helps too much to compare yourself to other people because they're different. They might operate in a slightly different way. They might have slightly different clients. They might focus more on retained or contingent. I think you've got to use your intuition to work out what seems right for you. And
Yeah.
if you're focused on maximizing your opportunities and continuously improving, and you're trying to put productivity and improvement over everything, then you'll naturally find the way in opportunities. I think you've got to just really have a relentless attitude towards being better and continuously just doing not more, but doing better, I would say.
Mm. And be open to that as well, that you can always learn, you can always get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even now, like I was saying to someone yesterday when I got into recruitment, I loved it because I was learning fast, I was achieving quite quickly. And when I originally got into recruitment, I thought, oh, do you know what? I'll go away and go traveling again after I've done it for a couple of years. But I've always stuck with it because even now I feel like I've got milestones and goals that are achievable that I'm motivated towards hitting. My first one when I got into recruitment was to run my own business. Then when I started running my own business, I wanted to scale a team. And then when I scaled the team, I wanted to have kind of exits and stuff like that. And now I'm at a point where really what's motivating me is to have multiple exits over a long period of time and chasing, instead of chasing six-figure income, it's then going to like 7, then 8, then 9. And I think there's always ways that you can improve your earning potential and that you can improve the opportunities that you've got if you're focusing on like, well, what's the next step? What are the skills and attributes that I need to build in order to be ready to take that next step when the opportunity presents itself?
Yeah. Walk us through a typical day.
So in the morning, I'll check my emails, check my messages on LinkedIn, look for anything urgent. I'll then deal with whatever is the most urgent priority in terms of fees closest to closing, retainers, and projects that are kind of urgent and important. Just go through a bit of a triage of like what my plan is for the day and make sure that anything that's cropped up overnight or that's urgent gets dealt with first thing. Normally between sort of 9 and 12 and 2 and 5, I focus on being productive. They're like my core working hours. So normally I'll be working on search projects. I'll be interviewing candidates for retainers. I'll be networking with people that I know in between that. I'll be calling out to catch up with clients that I've not caught up with for a while. Between sort of 12 and 2, I tend to have mostly kind of admin or catch up focused with time with candidates. And then sort of 5 p.m. onwards, I'm planning for my day, interviewing candidates for searches or for kind of to like replenish my network and to grow my network. Or catching up with people that I've not been able to catch up with throughout the day, tying up loose ends and stuff. I like to go home on a evening. I like to finish at a point where I feel like I've got the most out of my day, and I think part of that starts with knowing what you want to get out of it at the start. So you've got to have a plan. You've got to know what your priorities are. You've got to know what you're working towards. They've got to be achievable as well. If you're just setting a plan for the sake of setting a plan and you're not setting something that you really believe you can achieve, then what's the point? So setting something that's realistic and that's achievable is first, and then you've kind of got to make it work throughout the day. And if you have that attitude each day where you've just got to make it work, every day you'll be taking a little step further forward towards what is probably a mile run of improving in what you're doing in a larger scale.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on clients there. What is your business development strategy?
So I'm almost 100% reliant now on referrals and recommendations.
Okay.
I started out in my career in 2012 when I had no clients, e-shotting, canvassing, marketing candidates out, trying to turn candidates into clients, and doing all of the things that obviously you taught us. And those are all the things that if you don't have a client base, activity is your best friend. You've got to be a volume person. I don't believe in working smart before you work hard. You've got to work hard to then know how to work smart, to know what works for you. So once I got to a point where I had clients, it was then, how do I look after those clients? How do I maintain relationships with them over time? How do I be there at the right time? How do I check in regularly? How do I be at the forefront of their mind? And then it's kind of doing good work and making sure that you're shouting about the good work that you're doing so that people are referring and recommending you within a business. And particularly when you get to a point where you're placing management, director, VP, C-level exec candidates, it's making sure that you're maintaining relationships with them and not just ringing them when you want something, not just ringing them when you need something. It's building meaningful relationships where if you ever need to ring them and ask them for some industry insight, or if you ever want to share some industry insight with them, you can just pick up the phone and just be like, hi, how are you doing? Just checking in. Did you know this? I'm trying to do this. Can you help me? And having a network where you can kind of mutually help each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you manage your pipeline? Somebody who is billing such huge figures, how are you controlling what's going on at all stages?
So I am super basic. I try and work with really basic systems. I have an Excel sheet where I have all my leads and opportunities that I'm chasing down in one column. Then when something progresses to interview stage, it goes into another column. When it progresses to second interview stage, it progresses into the next column. When it goes to third or final, it goes to the next one. And it's just about making sure that you've got the right amount of opportunities in each box, and ultimately that will tell you where you need to be spending your time. If you've got loads of opportunities that are ready to close, if you're not closing them, if you're not prepping them, if you're not making sure that you're supporting those processes with your time, effort and energy, then inevitably they'll fall down. And then I work there backwards in terms of my time. So obviously the most advanced things get more of my time. The things at the early stages proportionally probably get the most of my time, because I guess you've got to do more volume of work to advance them. But in terms of priority, I kind of start with the more advanced stuff.
Okay. What's the weirdest excuse a candidate's giving you for not turning up?
He chopped his finger off. That was a good one.
Chopped off.
Yeah, I chopped my finger off. Sorry.
Nice. How did he or she do that?
I think to be fair, it wasn't that he chopped his finger off. It was that someone that he's worked with chopped their finger off or something like that.
Oh, right.
It felt a bit convoluted, so I didn't really get into the details. I was like, "All right, okay, should we rearrange them?"
um, Tell me about what you're working on at the moment and what you're working towards.
Yeah. So Velocity Talent is a group we've got revenue targets. We want to hit 7.5 million in 5 years. We're going to do that by recruiting, training, and developing multiple people who are established top quality billers who want to achieve a million USD in billing, and essentially looking to take them on a journey. And so we'll do that by kind of bringing together I suppose a group of high performing committed individuals who want to establish their own business in the future. So director kind of partner sort of level is what we're recruiting at. And what we'll be doing is giving them the fundamental skills to be high performing billers, but then also supporting them with systems, processes, L&D, mindset coaching, to support them with essentially freeing up as much of their time as possible and also maximizing their output. So this is an opportunity that's available to retain search, contract recruiters, perm recruiters, and I guess the focus isn't too much on markets. It's more focused on people who are really committed and also making sure that they've got the right environment and the right support available to them, which is like what I was saying before, the most important thing I think to thriving in recruitment is having the right environment and support around you. And if you haven't got that, then I think that's the first place to start, basically.
Yeah, what's the hardest thing, would you say, setting up your own business?
I think it's just all relentless. Like everyone talks about how easy it is to set up a recruitment company, and it is easy to set up a recruitment company. You need a phone and a laptop, but to
Yeah.
scale and to do it well is incredibly difficult. And billing, especially billing good numbers, is incredibly difficult as well. So you then kind of compounding and layering difficult things over difficult things. Inevitably, most people, when they've got to a point where they're doing that, they've probably got things going on in their personal life. They might be getting married, they might be having kids. Again, another layer of complexity and challenge. They might not be doing that, but I guess like I did a list for someone recently, and off the top of my head, you've got credit control, managing cash flow, dealing with late payers, accounting, VAT returns, marketing, branding, websites, content, social media, systems, CRMs, email servers, contracts,
Mm.
insurance, GDPR, tech support, setting up laptops, getting the right support around your internal recruitment, and all of that stuff. It completely, if your systems start going down, you need to then fix that system, and that takes you away from billing.
Yeah.
When you don't have any of those systems, you need to set those systems up, so that takes you away from billing. And I've spoken to loads of really good people who are top quality billers who kind of underestimate the amount of time, effort, and energy it takes to set these things up and then also to maintain them. And it's a drain, firstly, in terms of energy. Secondly, then in terms of support, you're either supporting yourself and you're doing it all yourself, and in which case you either choose, some people I know choose to like do a really stripped back system, and then they're kind of probably just winging it a little bit. It's not a scalable way to run a business, but it's a way that a little bit like cutting corners. If you're a one of one business, you can maybe get away with it for a little bit. But inevitably, it kind of catches up year 2, year 3 when you're needing to do your end of year books and you're having to do all of your kind of VAT returns and stuff like that. And if you've not got the right support and people around you, then those things can be really difficult. And I guess what I always admire about top performing people is they're incredibly resilient. They back themselves, and so they choose to take on all of these things themselves rather than choose to have the support, or if they do choose to have the support, they then go out to hire. That takes time. They'll probably, most people, when they're a one of one, struggle to get good talent. So then they recruit people that need a bit of development and need time investing in them. So then that takes time away in terms of training and management and developing them, which again drains you from recruitment and time that you can spend with your clients. And so then like billing slows, stress rises, people start moving towards being burnt out. It can be really thankless, really, can running a business. And there's no, when you're a one of one, there's no one there that's coming to save you. You just got to get through it. And a lot of people that I know that are doing it on their own are getting by because they back themselves and because they're phenomenal at what they do. But then they're kind of doing all this other stuff when, like, ultimately you can get someone who can do that for you. And kind of that's part of what we do. When I'm talking about freeing people up, it's like, how do we free you up so that you can focus on high value activities, which are going to maximize your revenue, maximize your earnings, and how can we take away all of the stresses, burdens, and hassles so that you can spend more time looking after your clients. If you've got a team, looking after your team, driving results really rather than taking things over.
Providing this infrastructure, you can clearly see that there is that faster growth. There's the results. There's better results. There's no one person having to do lots of different multiple roles, different hats, from IT one day to chase up an invoice and then to do the actual recruitment job as well.
You've just got to wear so many hats in it. Like, firstly, it's distracting, I think. Secondly, it restricts your ability to invest your time in things that are going to drive growth. Thirdly, I don't think anyone really enjoys those things. They're just things that they need to do to actually keep the company alive. And so it's generally quite draining doing things that you don't like or enjoy doing. And then so burnout is a big thing. Like, I've spoken to so many people who have stepped out and ran their own business and then got kind of burnt out. But then I suppose the final thing about running your own business as well is that if you're a one of one, you're focusing there on like the dividend yield, on like the yearly income that you're going to get. But one of the biggest aspects of running a company, one of the most valuable things of having a company, is that you've got an asset value there that you can build as well. And to build the asset value, you need generally people, systems, processes, infrastructure. It's a bit like, if you've got a house, your rental income is like your yield, what you're getting on an annual, monthly basis or whatever. And the asset value is actually the house. In business, the asset value is your business, but obviously your monthly is your dividends and stuff. What a lot of people neglect is, when they're a one of one, is how can I build asset value? So at some point, this company is sellable to someone will buy it. Recruitment companies are typically difficult to sell, but you can do it. And I think you've just got to have the right people, processes, and systems there. And again, that's kind of part of what we are helping these people with. If we set someone up with a business, or if we're helping them to scale and to grow their own business, part of the deal with them is, look, if you want to leave at any point, we'll buy you out. If you kind of decide that you want to run it on your own, you can buy us out. If you want a management buyout or management buy-in for your leadership team, those things are all on the table. But it's trying to make it fair and trying to make it transparent and easy, and so that there's systems and processes from the start so that people can do those things, rather than, what I've found with some businesses is you get into a conversation where those things, people might want to do those things, but ultimately then it comes down to opinion and how people are feeling at the time, rather than kind of having a set process for dealing with those things. So we try and make it as fair and unbiased as possible.
And you're told something's going to happen, it doesn't happen, which is the classic. In that regard. What advice would you give someone aiming to set up their own business or be their company's next top biller?
I think first thing you've got to do is you've got to focus on quality of activity. making sure you're doing the right things at the right times. It all starts with that. I prefer focusing on quality over quantity. I definitely am, you know, my previous, one of my first managers described me as a bit of a Danny Welbeck, tongue in cheek, saying that I just work hard and I haven't got any talent, basically. But I think I think hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So
That's it. Yeah.
I think I've worked hard to develop talent over time. I would probably say that. A funny story about that guy is when I was early on in my career, I we were talking. He was teaching me how to headhunt, and he said you need to ring all these people on this list, and I'd sorted all my companies out, all the people on the list out by what company they worked at. So I was ringing everyone at that company at the same, like one after the other, and working my way through this list to headhunt like anyone that could have been a good fit for this role. And I must have, well, I hit a company that was all in a sales meeting with each other, and it was a sales role that I was recruiting. So I was literally ringing one person after the other that were all. I got to the third call, and someone answered. It's like, "Is it James Smethurst?" Yeah, we're all in a sales meeting, mate. You need to stop ringing us.
Nice.
Sorry, I digress there. Um, quality of activity, making sure you're doing the right things at the right time, protect your productivity and your prime hours for like making sure that you're making money. Your prime hours, your productive hours are your making money time.
Yeah.
And I think really putting that level of importance on this is my making money time is a super big thing, because you should be excited about that. It's like you should be excited for those hours during the day, because that is your making money time. I think always knowing your best routes to monetization within your pipeline and within your relationships as well. You know, never sit wondering who to call. You should always be analyzing your relationships, and you know, if something falls through, or if you've got, you know, something that gets kicked back in terms of a project, knowing who you can call to then pick something up. You know, you develop that list of relationships over time. And I think if you're building a business, you've got to systemize early, otherwise you'll be scaling chaos, and it'll catch up on you probably all at one point. It's a bit, people talk about compound interest, about all the incremental things that you can do to get better and how it improves you over time, and it kind of like scales up. But bad decisions and failing to systemize in your company early is a bit like the opposite effect. Like, and I don't think enough people talk about that. If you make too many bad decisions over time, things get worse and worse and worse, and all of a sudden you get to a point where things are getting terrible all at the same time, and it tends to catch up very fast. So I think my best advice to people that are wanting to build a team, that are wanting to build a business, is make sure you've got the right systems and processes in place, so that things don't fall over.
Yeah. One final question from me before we open up to the floor. What's one myth about recruitment you'd love to bust forever?
I think one myth about recruitment is that clients want cheap recruitment. I don't believe that. I think that they want to run profitable companies, and they are always recruiting at various levels. So they have to manage their recruitment budget. But particularly for important roles, particularly for exec roles, what companies want is assurance. They want peace of mind. They want trust. They want accuracy. They want speed. They want reassurance that they've got the best person in the market for that role. I think AI is creating a lot of noise right now, and I think LinkedIn improving, AI improving, internal talent teams are improving. I think all of those things mean that recruiters really have to be on their toes to be making sure that they are delivering the highest level of value that they can be. And I think that if you listen to kind of a lot of the narratives that are out at the moment, with AI getting better and people creating more automations and systemizing more, I think actually it's creating a higher need for better people within organizations. And most organizations are actually saying we want a smaller team, but we want that team to be more high performing. In the past, like 10 10 years ago when I first got into recruitment. If you wanted to scale, everything was done manually, and so you needed more people. Whereas now companies are saying, actually, no, we don't want to scale our headcount. We want to scale our profit, and we want to scale our profit by getting better people and making sure that everyone around the table is earning their seat and is delivering, best in class results. So I think recruitment in that vein is important now more than ever, but it needs to be for value add positions. It needs to be for critical roles, and it needs to be for positions where clients genuinely see strategic input from a recruiter. And if you don't know what those roles are within your market, or if you don't know if you're filling those roles for your clients, speak to your candidates. Ask them, within your company, what are the roles that your company tends to go out to external recruitment for? What are the ones where they really value search partners for? What are the most difficult roles to fill within your team when they come up? What are the ones where you think that I should focus my time on? And if you're asking those questions regularly enough, the answers will lead you the way.
Fantastic. Thank you for answering those questions. I'll open up to the floor. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, James, thanks for really great insight there. Really enjoyed that tremendously. Just how many roles will you personally manage at any one time?
So, I mean, there's been times where between me and the team that I've managed, it's been probably more than 10, maybe even more than 15. But we do that in an organised way where individuals within the team will have responsibility for managing the day-to-day aspects to those process, and then they'll escalate when they're either struggling, or if they need hand with a conversation, or they need hand with influencing or managing that project.
Are you referring to your researchers?
Yeah, researchers, consultants, kind of exec administrators or researchers. Generally, if you're managing, the thing about when you're successfully delivering lots of projects is that repeat work becomes a norm, and then you generally have a lot of clients that are kind of coming back to you for more and more work. So you have to, I believe in trying to find ways to manage that for them, because to spend all your time and effort in business development to build relationships, to then turn around at some point and say, actually, no, I don't want to deliver this work for you, or I haven't got the capacity to be able to do it, feels a little bit backwards. It's like you've got to then eventually make it work somehow when the clients need you. When they need you, and that's the value that you're kind of offering. So you've got to make that work, and then that's why you need a team to support you. I would say in terms of like where I am right now, I've got a couple of people within the team. We're looking to scale and grow. At the moment, I will work on no more than like 4 or 5 positions at any one time, because I'm kind of mostly manually and personally handling everything. So it's great for my clients. They're getting a real personal level of touch. They're getting a real high amount of personal detail that's getting invested into these. But a few years ago, me and my former business partners, we did a bit of a joint venture with James Khan. And one of the things that I learned from him was when you're dealing with him, you're not just dealing with him, you're dealing with his team. He's got a CFO, he's got an MD, he's got a load of people around him that are his organisation. And you kind of deal with him as and when he wants to deal with you, kind of, is the reality of the situation. The thing that kind of that taught me is that even though your clients are dealing with you personally, that doesn't mean to say that they can't be dealing with you and your organisation and your team. You just need to make sure that you genuinely have a finger on the pulse, that you're on it, that you're not just leaving people to it without really understanding what they're doing and making sure that you're acting as a quality control to what they're doing. And if you manage to nail that right, and you can kind of outsource things within your team and make sure you maintain a level of quality, then you've got a perfect balance. There's times where I've got that right, there's times where I've got that wrong. So I'm not saying I've been wholly perfect across my whole career. It's something that's quite difficult in recruitment, but certainly it's something that you've got to make work to be successful and to do it on scale.
Thank you.
Yeah, great answer. There's a question that was emailed to me actually, of somebody who couldn't make it today. And that is, what tools or tech have you used that's helped you to bill more?
So again, I try and keep it really basic. I ring people. I spend loads of time on video calls. I try and maximize the amount of time that I'm spending in front of people, and then I try and do a really good job for them so that they want to recommend and refer me to other people. That is my BD plan. So it's wholly based on relationships and then recommendations and referrals from those people. I have tried Source Whale, which was good, but I think email marketing at the moment I find quite difficult, and I find it's really tough to stand out over email. I think the purpose of email is to get you on a call. So if you can spend more time on calls, then you're kind of productive then anyway. As long as you're speaking to the right people.
People are fed up, aren't they, James, of feel like they've been spammed with the same narrative that somebody else has said almost very similarly an hour earlier.
I think email works better when you know the person as well, because it's like if you've taken the time to meet someone and build a relationship with them, an email's like, oh, I've had an email from that person, I'll check it out. If you're just continuously emailing people that you've not bothered to call and speak to and introduce yourself to, or that are not interested in speaking to you or being introduced to you, then you're kind of wasting your time a little bit. I think it's important that you take a long-term approach to building relationships up with people in an organic way. And recruitment is a wholly a relationship game. If you're not if I'm, say, for example, I've got a really good candidate and I'm taking them out to market now, I'll mostly be going out to people that I already know by calls or by emails, and sending information out about that person to people that I already know. And if I don't know someone, I'll try and call them to introduce myself, or I'll send like a brief introductory email and just say, can we jump on a call? I'd like to share some details with you. And at least making the effort to kind of prioritize the relationship over the result. I think when you start trying to be too transactional about recruitment, clients don't like it because they know as well that it's a relationship play. Like most candidates, most companies recognize the value of recruiters in the right scenario, in the right way. But what they want is the relationship with you. And if you're kind of not prioritizing the relationship with them, then it feels a little bit like going on Tinder and swiping right to everything and sending out a mass message to everyone that's like copy and paste. It doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel thoughtful. It doesn't feel like you're investing into that relationship. And I think taking that level of time to do that is really important, and making it feel like you are really prioritizing the relationship with that individual, which is difficult to do when you're kind of trying to hit big numbers and you're trying to do an element of volume as well. But you've got to find the balance, I think.
What would you, if you could choose or recommend any books or self-development authors, what would you say?
So I think one of the first recruitment books that helped me was, I think it was Steve Finkel, but it talks about, it's very old school. It talks about Rolodexes and stuff like that. It was that I found really helpful in ways where it kind of solidified the things that I was already being taught, but framed it ever so slightly differently in a way where I just, sometimes when you hear something from someone, when you're early on in your career, you in recruitment specifically, everyone has a slightly different way of doing things. So you're trying to figure out what's the right way. That kind of gave me a way of framing all of the different things that different people were saying to me in a way where I was like, okay, I need to develop my own style, but these are the common threads that everyone is talking about. And it gave me some information outside of my organization, outside of the people and information that I was already getting, that helped me to really kick on. The next one, which £1 million biller introduced me to this guy as well, a guy called Cos Lemos. He's someone who I've known for a long time, probably maybe even nearly 10 years myself. He introduced me to a guy called Alex Hormozy, who for some reason I've never heard of at the time. So his he does $100 million lead, and then $100 million. What was the next one?
He did the gym launch was his first one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So $100 million deals. And
he does $100 million offers. That's it.
Yeah.
So how to create and position your offer, and how to make sure that your offer of your business is right and you're positioning it right. I think he absolutely. What I like about him is he's quite efficient with his words. I'm a bit of a talker, so what I'll say in about 1,000 words, he'll say in about 10.
He's very direct, isn't he?
Yeah. And I think what he says makes a lot of sense. So I really like him at the moment. There's a lady called Cody Sanchez, who's in the US, who I really like as well. They're the main ones that I follow, because they are people who've run businesses, who talk about how to scale businesses, who talk about sales as well. And I think when you're in an early, like, I'm not managing a PLC type of guy. I'm an entrepreneur that has been successful in managing small businesses. And I think in small businesses, the most valuable skill that you've got is sales. And so my kind of making sure that I'm keeping my hand in with sales personally, but also making sure that I'm developing myself and my mindset, and the information that I'm getting from a sales perspective is really important to me. I think it's the biggest area that you can add value in small businesses is by making sure that your mindset is right, but also your sales excellent strategies and your sales excellence systems are spot on.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, James. That wraps up our episode 4 of the Top Biller series. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
We'll actually
Cheers,
stay
for having us.